And a hearty and happy welcome to everyone, friends and family. Tyler Fulgham, Erin Dolan. This is our Wednesday edition of Bet Midweek Hump Day edition, and it is jam-packed with all kinds of goodies. We're going to play the good word like we always do. We're going to whip around the NFL with some of our favorite ESPN Nation reporters as we get ready for the official Week 1 start of preseason. NBA season totals are out. We're in the dog days of summer in Major League Baseball. Oh, yeah? If you want not just bet on your screen, but all kinds of gambling content from these beautiful faces and wonderful minds here at ESPN, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. That is our channel. Go there and subscribe right now. If you're watching there right now, kisses to you. Good job on your homework assignment. Erin Dolan, like I said, we have a jam-packed show. Are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Absolutely. Like you said, there's so much going on. Dog days of summer. It's kind of crazy when we start seeing rundowns with like every sport mixed in. Makes you a little anxious, but it makes for a good time too.
I forgot. Golf included. Par 3 coming up since it is a Wednesday, and the FedEx playoff start tomorrow in Memphis, Tennessee. But we're going to begin with the good word. We're going to flex our prolific vocabularies. You know the drill here, Erin. I read a statement related to wagering, related to gambling. You tell me the first word that pops into your head right there. So let's get it kick-started in baseball. The Houston Astros are 5-1 to finish this regular season with the most wins in all of Major League Baseball. Right now, the Dodgers are the favorite in that market, and they're the odds-on favorite at -200 as they have about a 4 or 5 game lead on the Astros, if I remember correctly from the standings. But your good word for the Stros at 5-1 to finish with the most wins is?
I disagree. So I disagree that they're going to end up having the best record. I mean, the Dodgers are absolutely rolling. They're 21-4 in their past 25 games. Then when you look down the standings, you have Houston. They're 6 games back just with the New York Yankees. You have the Mets, ranking above, 5 games back off the Dodgers. But what's really important when you're thinking about this type of market is looking at the strength of schedule. And as for the Houston Astros, they have a pretty tough strength of schedule out of all the teams that I had just mentioned. They're going to have to play the Braves twice, the Phillies 3 times, the Rays 5 times, the White Sox 4 times. The list goes on. So if they had an easier strength of schedule, I would think maybe there's still, 8 or so weeks left. They'd be able to catch up to the Dodgers. But, I mean, the Dodgers have just been lights out. So I don't expect them to go on and have the best record.
Yeah, I, like you, disagree, but my word is rocket, as in they will need a rocket up there, to catch the Dodgers. And don't forget, too, that the New York Mets now have 72 wins. The Mets have more wins than the Astros. They got DeGrom back. They got Scherzer. Their lineup can mash. They're winning right now, I think, so I think they're going to end the day at 73 wins. They have an early game, but the Yankees are tied with the Stros, and then 2, not 1, just the Dodgers, but 2 National League teams have more wins right now than the Astros. You mentioned that difficult schedule, so I'm going to say, yeah, they need a rocket to try and get to the top of the standings in Major League Baseball. I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't be placing that wager. Let's move now to the links, and we will give our par 3 picks for the FedEx St. Jude Classic, our championship, I should say, first leg of the PGA Tour's FedEx playoffs. This prop exists out there. Let me know what word you come up with, Erin. Plus 250, that the winner wins by 1 stroke.
All right, the word is foolish. And by foolish, I'm kind of calling our producer out here because I feel like she's trying to fool us into liking this bet. Plus 250 has some value. It's supposed to be close. But, when I'm looking at this course that's coming up this weekend to kick things off, you're looking at a par 70, 94 bunkers, 10 water hazards. Who knows what is going to happen? This is a really tough course for some of these guys, especially that aren't, great at playing the short game. So for me personally, I'm not looking to bet this. I feel like the producer is trying to make me look like a fool making a pick on this one, but I'm going to stay away in terms of this.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time, again, I look foolish. I'm going to use the word field, okay? And I realize now, when I'm on opposite sides of you, I kind of misread this when I originally gave my word. I said I thought this was plus 250 to be won by more than 1 stroke. And I'm putting field there because this is a loaded field. It's the first leg of the FedEx playoffs. We got Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Cam Smith. We got all the top guns in the game of golf right now, basically, outside of the guys that are over on the LIV Tour. and some may be going there. That's a conversation for another day that are playing here. But bottom line, I think this field is too strong that someone runs away with it by 2 or more strokes. So I am foolish enough to dabble a little bit on plus 250. I don't mind that. I don't mind plus 250. A little dabble, not a full unit or anything like that. But I think this is going to be, it's a birdie. It's a very gettable course, despite some of the things that you pointed out with water and tight, small greens, tight fairways, penal rough. I do think we will see some pretty good scoring because if you get the ball onto the fairway and onto the greens, it becomes an easy game. And look, these guys make it look easy. So I think we see 4 or 5 big names at the top on Sunday fighting to win this tournament, maybe even a playoff. And of course, that would mean that the winner wins by 0 strokes because it happens in a playoff. But I am going to say field because it's strong that the winner is by just 1 stroke. Finally, let's get to preseason football or just the National Football League. We'll talk preseason in a bit, but this is a game that actually counts. Week 1 of the NFL season, Erin, the Chiefs and the Cardinals have the highest total on the board at 53. What's your good word for that Week 1 matchup?
The good word is arms, because this really does feel like it could be a shootout style game. I'm not surprised that this is the highest total. But please, people, keep in mind, because this just happened in our group chat for Daily Wager, to make sure you're looking at the NFL preseason, which is different than the NFL Week 1 market. Some people might start getting confused, accidentally place a bet on Week 1. Make sure you do not do that. Joe Fortenbaugh almost just did that with the Baltimore Ravens, thinking they were -6. But luckily, he didn't do that. But when we're looking at the Chiefs, I mean, they were absolutely explosive in terms of their offense. They averaged 28.2 points per game, but in terms of their defense, they weren't great. Overall defensive efficiency, they ranked 24th. And then when you look at the Cardinals, their defense was good against the pass. They ranked top 10, but in terms of the run, they just were terrible at stopping that, which honestly, we know the Chiefs are more predominantly, they like to throw the ball. But in terms of the Cardinals offense, they averaged 26 points per game. So I just overall think you got 2 good players, 2 good teams in terms of offensive efficiency. So I do think that this could potentially go over. But again, thinking about those guys' arms.
I love the boom roasted for a guy who's behind this wall. You can't see him. Our buddy Joe Fortenbaugh is who she was referring to there. And my word is Thursday, which I'm going to write in a little bit. But I just realized your word, arms, is whatever that's called in the English language, where I can reshuffle the same letters and it makes a different word that applies. Because on Thursday of Week 1, the Rams play the Bills. And I think that should be the game with the highest total in Week 1. It is an indoor fast track with Josh Allen and the Bills, who are favored to win the Super Bowl, against Matt Stafford and the Rams, who just won the Super Bowl. Allen is the favorite, shortest odds, favorite to win league MVP, and Matt Stafford, I think, is 6th or 7th on the board, which is shorter odds than Kyler Murray. So if you compare Allen to Mahomes, Allen is the shorter odd, better pick for MVP. And if you compare Stafford to Murray, he is the shorter odd, better MVP pick on the Rams side. So I think the game that should have the highest total is not Arizona and Kansas City, where the Chiefs have just lost Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season. I think it should be Stafford versus Allen Thursday night, fast track, with 2 of the top teams contending for the Super Bowl. I think we see something similar to what we saw last year in Week 1 when Dak Prescott and Tom Brady went blow for blow, and it was like a 42-38 game or something crazy like that. So Thursday is my word, but you said arms, which I can spell Rams with, so very good symmetry. I'll look up whatever that means when you flip around the words to get something else. But I love that there. Good start in the good word. Let's now move to the NFL preseason, Erin. Emphasis on preseason. Before we get into our games, we're going to have some help from our favorite friends, ESPN NFL Nation reporters. Let's start first and foremost with the Giants and the Pats and check in with Pats reporter Mike Reiss. Hey, Mike, what are the chances we see Mac Jones in this matchup?
Bill Belichick predictably didn't answer when asked if Mac Jones will play in Thursday's preseason opener, but based on what I saw in one of the team's final practices this week, it would be a surprise to me if Jones plays much, if at all, in this game. When the Patriots were working on scout team cards to prepare for the game, Jones wasn't part of that part of the practice from an offensive standpoint. It was quarterbacks Brian Hoyer and Bailey Zappi, which could signal which way Belichick is leaning.
All right, Mike Reiss, thank you very much. And this was the word I was looking for. I don't know if you can, there it is. Anagram. It's It's an anagram. Arms and Rams are an anagram.
Anagram?
Has nothing to do. Yeah, anagram. That is the word, Erin. But nothing to do.
I've ever heard that word.
With Giants and Patriots. Oh, I clearly didn't know it. My mom's going to be ashamed. I was not aware of that. But you heard what Mike Reiss had to say right there about the potential for Mac Jones to play. Does not seem likely at all. The Giants are a 2.5-point favorite in New England, a total of 33. What are you thinking with this matchup here?
Boy, oh boy, this is not one I was really looking forward to be quite frank. I'm leaning towards the over in this one. We did see these two teams play last preseason, and New England won 22-20. Now, I know totally different players, things like that, but I will say these two teams have faced off 30 times against each other in the preseason. The reason that I'm leaning towards the Patriots is just because I enjoy taking dogs in the preseason at least. And the other reason being that they do have Brian Hoyer, who wasn't that terrible. He has experience, and that's something that's really important in terms of picking games for the preseason. Now, I also know at the same time the Giants, they do have some reputable quarterbacks, and I think they'll actually end up playing some of their starters because they were so bad last season. But again, you have to just... When you're picking preseason games, you have to wait till every single injury report, every single yes, no is coming out on a player to really, make a real educated guess. If I had to pick, I'd say New England with the points, and then I would also take the over. But again, preseason's really tough to handicap, guys. Don't take it, to the extreme with what I'm saying here.
No, I mean, I agree with you, and I understand the logic of liking underdogs because we have such low totals in preseason football. So if there's less scoring, having a head start on the scoreboard makes a lot of sense. I, however, am going to lay the wood with the Giants here as long as it stays under that field goal. And the big reason why, you touched on it, I think the Giants, with a first-year head coach and a first-year GM, are more likely to play 53-man roster caliber players because they want to know, these guys that they inherited, that they didn't bring in, can they play? Are they part of the solution for the future? Brian Dable, I think, is more likely to leave starters out there and be a little more aggressive in his playbook. His defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, who comes from the Ravens, where they have won, and we'll talk about it in just a second, 20 consecutive preseason games, is one of the most aggressive blitzing play callers in the NFL. I think he will be aggressive, even in a week one preseason game, trying to apply pressure to whoever is quarterbacking New England's offense, and it looks like Brian Hoyer will at least get that assignment to start. So, with some reports that Belichick's offense has looked a little rusty to start, and Belichick probably being very vanilla with his game plans because he's Bill Belichick, I like the Giants in this situational spot even though I'm laying 2.5 points. Now, I mentioned, Erin, the Baltimore Ravens. They are riding a 20-game preseason win streak, which is absolutely remarkable. Their team reporter, Jamison Hensley, is here to tell us, though, not to expect many starters to suit up for their week one preseason matchup.
Ravens coach John Harbaugh told me that Lamar Jackson is among a handful of starters who won't play in Thursday's preseason opener. The other players not suiting up are tight end Mark Andrews, outside linebacker Justin Houston, and cornerback Marlon Humphrey. Now, this doesn't come as a surprise because the Ravens have tried to reduce injury risk all training camp. They have scaled back a lot of their full contact drills. And the Ravens have typically played it very cautious with Lamar Jackson. Last year, Jackson played a total of 10 snaps in the preseason. But with or without Jackson, Baltimore is one of the league's best teams in the summer. The Ravens have won a total of 20 straight preseason games, which is the unofficial league record. The last time the Ravens lost in the preseason was back in 2015.
2015, that is absolutely bonkers. Thank you to Jamison there. But after hearing that, Erin, and knowing that the Ravens are laying 3.5 with a total of 31.5 for this second Thursday night preseason game we discussed, are you even going to play this bad boy? Is there anything you like, or is this one you're kind of just like, stay away?
Well, I do want to lay it with the Ravens, but am I crazy?
Okay.
Did he just say that Tyler Huntley is not playing? Am I crazy? Did he mention that name?
I don't know if I heard that. I certainly
one of them?
heard Lamar Jackson and a lot of defensive starters.
Yeah, I knew
J.K.
he
Dobbins
said that, but
not playing. I did not hear Huntley.
For a second, I thought I heard otherwise.
Okay.
But in terms of Huntley, the reason being that I do want to end up betting on the Ravens is one, because of that, because he actually has experience in the league. We saw him play 7 games last season. He went 2-5, okay, but he did play very, very stiff competition. He threw 3 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions. I know that's not great. He threw over 1,000 yards, But you have to remember that this guy at least has experience. When you look at the Tennessee Titans, you're going to have either QB in Malik Willis or you're going to have Logan Woodside. So you guys got to kind of weigh the options here. The other thing, and I think Doug made a good point on the show yesterday in terms of this line, everyone knows the Ravens are on this hot streak, 20-0. They also know they're 18-2 against the spread in that 20-game win streak. So maybe it's baked in a little bit. That's why we're seeing it at -3.5. Despite all of that, I still think the Ravens will be able to cover this number because I actually think the Tennessee Titans are just absolutely atrocious, whether it is their starting lineup this season or it's their backup. So I would like with the Ravens.
All right, we're on opposite sides again here, sister. I'm going to take the head start on the scoreboard and the 3.5 points with the Titans. It's over that key number of 3, and I know preseason and regular season not exactly the same, but look at that total. It's a very low total of 31.5, so they're not expecting a lot of scores here. And I want to note the changes this offseason to John Harbaugh's coaching staff. I mentioned Wink Martindale and his aggressive blitzing defense, whether it's regular, post, or preseason. He has gone to the New York Giants. You have a new coordinator in Mike McDonald coming from the Michigan Wolverines. There's 5 other assistants that are new on the staff this year for John Harbaugh. So this coaching staff is completely different from the one that has been largely together in the core for most of this 20-game win streak. So I don't know if they'll be exactly the same in how they scheme, how they play, how they substitute, all those things. I just think 3.5 is a lot, even for a Ravens team that has this win streak and this ATS record over the last 20 preseason games. I think the Ravens are a better team, no doubt about it. But I like 3.5 with a total of only 31.5, despite the trend of the Ravens. All right, those are Thursday games. Let's get to a Friday game, which is a little more difficult to handicap 48 hours out because we don't have as much information about who will and who will not play. But an interesting matchup between the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars because of the QBs and the QB situation in each of these spots. Mike DiRocco, how long can we expect starters to play for Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Starters will only play a couple series, so this will be a brief look at Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne in new head coach Doug Peterson's offense. This is the second system in as many years for Lawrence, but he said earlier this week that he's further along in learning the offense than he was at this point last season. This will be Etienne's first game since he suffered a Liz Frank injury in the 2021 preseason. The Jaguars have lined him up at multiple spots, and he has been one of the most impressive players in camp. Expect an Alvin Kamara type role for Etienne in his return.
All right, good stuff there from Mike DiRocco. Some very pertinent information. Seeing Trevor Lawrence, seeing Travis Etienne, a lot of those guys who didn't play in the Hall of Fame game. And on the other side, Erin, I do want to know, we didn't hear from our ESPN Browns reporter, Jake Trotter, but he has indicated that there's a chance we could see Deshaun Watson suit up and take some snaps for the Browns. Remember, he is allowed to play in the preseason for Cleveland. So that's why we see a total that is shot up to 36. And Jacksonville's still a 2.5-point favorite, but the total has come way up because now we're starting to hear reports simmer that not only is Lawrence likely going to play, but Deshaun Watson could play as well. So I know this is one game that you really don't have any interest in. Tell us why that is, Erin.
Yes, I had zero interest in the game for all the reasons that you had just mentioned. One, we're not even sure who's really going to be playing. We're 48 hours out. There's just so much going on with both of these teams. We just saw this Hall of Fame game. Yes, there's going to be different players that are now going to be, starting in this game. But at the same time, they got smacked in that Hall of Fame game. The Jacksonville Jaguars are just not a good team. I know you made a lot of good points, though, Tyler. Before that game, you had talked about Doug Peterson and how he is in the preseason, things like that. My fear now that you had mentioned the Deshaun Watson thing is, let's say he does end up playing a couple snaps. That guy's going to try to play absolutely lights out. There's been so much talk about him. We haven't even seen him play in so long. So that makes it a little bit dicey. There's just too much up in the air for me to put money on this game in particular. Again, you got a full slate of games. There's some of them guys, I got to just be honest, I wouldn't even touch.
Yeah, I am going to play this game. And again, it's, not great conviction because as you pointed out, handicapping preseason football is difficult. I will lay it with the Jacksonville Jaguars for a couple of reasons. As we just heard, Doug Peterson is going to use this game, unlike he did the Hall of Fame game, to see his starters get some action. He is a first-year head coach there. He, like I was just talking about with Brian Dable, is likely going to want to see of the guys he inherited, who can play, who is part of the solution for the future. He knows Trevor Lawrence and Etienne are part of the future, so they may not be out there as long as other starters, but there could be some veterans that play into the second quarter, at least all of the first quarter. And those guys behind him now have some live reps. Jacksonville has played a preseason game, so those third and fourth stringers have actually gotten into the mix, hit someone in an opposing jersey. I think that relative small experience in the preseason will be a benefit for the Jaguars. I'll lay the 2.5 here, and since we do have a higher total of 36, it doesn't scare me as much as it would, say, with the Ravens in the previous game we discussed. But that's Friday night, so a couple more days to handicap that. Right now, I lean Jaguars. All right, let's move to the links now, Erin, where we have, as I said earlier, the beginning of the FedEx Cup playoffs at the FedEx St. Jude Championship down in Memphis, Tennessee, Southwind, TPC Southwind Golf Course. This is the first leg of the playoffs, so the field will continue to whittle down as we continue towards the Tour Championship. You know the deal. It's par 3. That means you got 3 shots, 3 bets. Tell me what you like. Go ahead and rip them off for us here. Your three favorite plays, I should say, for the FedEx St. Jude Championship.
Well, you know, at this point, I typically don't pick the outright winners. Not because I couldn't pick one, but because it's just so difficult. So I'd like to look at those finishing positions. So the first one we're going to look at is top 10 finish. We're going to go Rory McIlroy. He's been playing some of the best golf that he's ever played this season, which is honestly really telling in how he's been able to bounce back from the past couple of seasons. But he's at a top 10 finish in 6 of his last 8 tournaments. And then we're going to also look at the top 20. So we're going to go top 10, top 20, top 30. In terms of my top 20, we're also going to throw in Matt Fitzpatrick. So he's played really well at this course. And the reason I'm going to do a top 20 here is because I'm giving myself some leeway. So he's actually had at this course 2 finishes in the top 6, including a top 4 finish in 2019. But in terms of that top 20, 6 of his last 9 tournaments, he's finished in the top 20. Now, in that 9 tournament stretch, he had 1 win, which was the U.S. Open, but then he also did miss a cut in 2 of the other tournaments. So he has been a little bit iffy, but nonetheless, he is playing some of the best golf of his career as well. And considering he has played well at this course, I wanted to take him, but giving myself a little bit more cushion in the top 20 market. I'm pretty sure that's still at plus money. Switching down to the top 30 market, we're going to go I'm going to mess this up. Sungjae Im, sorry.
Nailed it.
I feel like this is always one that Anita talks about. I know, right? And the thing is about this one, it might not be the best value because I've seen it as high as minus 140 on some of the books. And again, when you're looking for the top 30 market, you might have to look at multiple books because it's only available on some of them. But he's finished tied second the past 2 tournaments. So he's really been heating up. And that's one thing that's really important in terms of golf in general, is finding some of those guys who are on a heater or on a winning streak, because usually they can keep that momentum. Now, I will say with him, just like Fitzpatrick, is that he has been a little bit iffy in the past, 9, 10 or so tournaments that he's had to play in. So again, giving myself some cushion here, taking him to go in the top 30 just because he has been playing so well as of late.
Yeah, you got it right, Sungjae Im, and he has he has that capacity to finish really high. Won the event at my course here last year and has a win, I believe, this year. My par 3, you mentioned it, Erin. You want to try and handicap finding some of the hottest golfers on the planet right now. Well, my 3 golfers all fit that bill. The handicapping here is that they are 3 of the hottest in the game at the moment. I'm going to start with a top 40 finish for Scott Stallings. His last 4 events that he has started, Erin, he finished 14th at the Wyndham, he finished 10th at the Rocket Mortgage, he finished 4th at the John Deere, and he finished 8th at the Travelers. That is 4 straight top 15 finishes. I just need him inside the top 40 at plus 120. Now let's go to a top 20 at plus 170. Young Tom Kim. JH, Ju Young Kim. He's now going by Tom, which makes it easier for us to pronounce over here. Regardless of what he wants us to call him, we need to start calling him one of the most exciting and young, talented golfers in the world. If you missed it last week at the Wyndham, he opened his tournament with a quadruple bogey and then proceeded to wax the field by 5 strokes. The dude is 20 years old, and he has finished inside the top 20 in 4 of his 10 PGA Tour starts. He just won the Wyndham with that incredible stretch after the opening quadruple bogey. The dude is a stud. I think he can win this tournament and go back-to-back, but I get him at plus 170 for a top 20. Young Tom Kim. Know the name because he's going to be around for a long time, winning a lot on the tour. And finally, Xander Schauffele. The X-Man is probably the best and hottest golfer in the world right now. Top 10 finish at plus 140. If you look at his recent run here, He finished 15th at the Open Championship. That's the last time we saw him. He finished 14th at the U.S. Open before that. Sandwiched in between those two major finishes inside the top 15, he won the Genesis Scottish Open and he won the Travelers Championship back-to-back. He also won the Zurich Classic, a team event with Patrick Cantley earlier this season. Bottom line is, he has finished inside the top 18. No worse than 18th in any of his last 8 starts. Xander Schauffele is a legit threat to run down Scottie Scheffler and win that big $15 million prize for the FedEx Cup playoff. I think he gets it started with a good top 10 finish at plus 140 at TPC Southwind. All right, from the greens of the links to the greens of the diamond. Let's go to Big League Baseball. It's a split Wednesday slate, of course, Erin. You know, a travel day for some teams, so games that are already in progress. It started early. We've had to knock off a few of those, but I think we have 9 games this evening that start at 7:05 Eastern or later. So it's not a completely depleted slate. What, if any, MLB play stands out to you as one you want to share with our viewers now?
I'm looking at the Twins-Dodgers game, and this line is at 9. I'm going to take the under here. Now, yesterday, the Dodgers had won the game. They actually went over this total. They had 10 runs. There was a combined 13 total runs in yesterday's game, the first game of the series. Now we go into day 2, and what I'll say is the pitching matchup is going to be better today. You have Sonny Gray, who's going to be on the mound for the Twins. He's a 3.19 ERA, 6-3 record. And the last time that he was on the mound, he faced the Toronto Blue Jays, and it ended up being a no decision, but he did throw 5 scoreless innings. That was actually the 3rd time this season that he's had at least 5 or more scoreless innings. So he's been really good. And then as for the Dodgers, they're going to put on a guy who, yes, he has a good ERA. It's going to be Ryan Pepio. And the one thing I'll say is when I did look at him, I will say that he faced weak competition. But at the same time, I just think this is going to be a lower scoring game than 9. I feel like it's kind of bumped up considering yesterday there was 13 runs scored. So again, I'm going to take the under for the Twins-Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, I like that handicapping, some better pitching for the Twins with Sonny Gray out there, and this Dodgers starter has been good since he has come up from the minors. I am going to go to an under as well. It's a lower threshold to clear or stay clear of, and that's just 7, but it's even money. It's the Marlins and the Phillies in Philadelphia. Now, you know Noah Syndergaard is come over from the Angels and pitching for your new squad. This Marlins offense, Erin, has been just anemic as of late. The Marlins have scored 3 runs or less in 12 of their last 14 games. And Syndergaard's a decent enough real-life pitcher that I think he can keep that trend going. Then, unfortunately for your Phillies and their lineup, they're going up against Sandy Alcantara, who is the favorite to win the NL Cy Young Award for good reason. Alcantara has a 1.88 ERA, a 0.92 whip. Batters are hitting just 193 against him, and he gets a lot of ground balls, over 55% ground ball rate. So Alcantara is awesome. The Miami offense is terrible. I think those two things combine to keep this game under 7 at even money at Citizens Bank Ballpark. Whoever wins, whether it's the Marlins or the Phils. Finally, we wrap up in the association. Don't look now. I know we're getting ready for the NFL season to kick off, but a month and a half after that, the NBA season tips off. Caesars has unleashed on us, Erin, before we let our viewers go, some season win totals. Any stand out to you that you want to play or that you want to mention right now as we gear up for the NBA season?
Well, I feel like this offseason, everybody is talking about the Brooklyn Nets, and for good reason. But their win total came out at 44.5. And maybe you're thinking, well, I should really take the over on this because last season they went 44-38. And that, of course, was with Kyrie Irving only playing in 29 games. Now, this could be a situation that KD, Kyrie, and Simmons play together, and you're just like, this is a lock. I got to take the over. Please do not bet into a win total. There's so many other things you can bet into. And this is just an absolute mess right now. Every day it seems to be something new evolving. Kevin Durant now demanding even more things to be able to stay there. So just be cautious in terms of betting win totals on teams that you're not sure who's even going to be playing.
Yeah, I think that's very wise and completely fair with this Nets team. If those guys are playing, 45.5 seems way too low. If they're not, way too high. I, though, am going near the bottom of the league. The Oklahoma City Thunder have a win total of 26.5. I'm going over that. I think you should right now. Think about it. They won 24 games last year, Erin, and Lou Dort and SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, their two best players, combined to miss 57 games. They then drafted Chet Holmgren, who looked great in the summer league. So too did year 2 player Josh Giddey, who's ready to take a leap. I think this squad can win 30 games, even in the West, if that group stays healthy, because they are young, exciting, and talented. Think about the Thunder in an over at this early juncture. That is Erin Dolan. I'm Tyler Fulgham. Big thanks to our ESPN NFL Nation reporters for helping us out. No show on Friday. We'll be back Monday, and Erin will be hosting. Everyone have a great week, and we'll see you Monday.